This chart is completely uninformative, right? First of all, I mean, we know what those are, but what is series one, series two, right? Well, first of all, if you click on any of these lines, there is actually a formula up top, okay? The first argument is for the title, and I'm going to make that title Sharpe ratio, not title, but the legend of the series. And the second one is the actual average return. There's no limit on number of characters on these things. All right, but still completely uninformative. Why? First of all, scales are different. The standard deviation numbers or Sharpe ratio numbers are, oh, I think I did standard deviation here, not even the Sharpe ratio. Well, we can change that. Sharpe ratios lived on row 1188. Since this is a formula, all I have to do is change that. Instead of 87, I'm going to make those 88s. You don't have to redo the chart. Again, the other thing is not even around, okay? So let me go back first, okay? Well, how do you make these things more informative? Yes, there is a pattern to the average returns, but from this chart, I cannot see that small stocks have higher returns. Um, what you do is you can assign a series into one of the two scales, left-hand scale and right-hand scale. So I'm going to take the Sharpe ratio, or in this case, standard deviation. I'm going to hit Format Data Series, and there's a series options. You can change the color. For example, I'm going to make that crimson red. The last one is series options. Just hit the secondary axis. And what do you know? The chart actually changed. Okay. Now the red one, which is the risk measure, is red from the right axis, and the left one is the average return is red from the primary axis, which is the left axis. Now I can see the patterns. By the way, when you do charts, unless it is truly warranted, don't ever scale them so that, for example, these starts from 0 and go above, right? In this case, it's warranted because I just want to look at the numbers. If you click on the axis, right click, format axis, you can change the minimums and the maximums. So I'm going to make this minimum of 1, maximum of 2, and I'm going to make the major units 0.05. That determines the grid lines. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Well, what happens? Oh, I meant minimum of 0.1, 0.01, maximum of 0.225, and the units of 0.25%. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right axis. I'm going to make that a minimum of about 4 and maximum of about, that can stay there. All right. Now you're kind of learning how to tell stories using charts. Because instead of looking at those 10 numbers on the screen, especially if you're following on a thing like Zoom, a chart is a lot more informative, especially if you have a teacher that uses lively colors. For my data series, I'm going to make this Welsh green. Maybe increase the thickness of it a little bit. I'll do the same thing to this one and give it a nice little background. That's the so-called plot area. Instead of white, I'm going to make that what happens. Oh, fill. And chart area, I'm going to make that black, which means I have to change the color of these things. I'm going to make him bright white. Same thing here. And you could also change the size of these things, just like regular fonts. I'm just going to hit F4 because it repeats the same thing. I'll do the same thing for that one. Now you have a chart, and I'm going to make this full screen. When you make presentations, real estate on the screen is important. So if you don't need all that stuff, don't have them around. Now you have a lot of contrast, and people can actually see and understand what you're talking about. Okay. So doing charting is not simply putting the lines up in there. You do a chart to communicate information. Sometimes you need, visual techniques to communicate that information a lot better. In this case, one of them is going down, the other is going up. So there's not too much ambiguity going on. But sometimes you have series that behave relatively similarly. If you don't provide contrast, it's not that easy to see the differences. All right. Now, suppose we want to do all of this using only data. This is, you're basically saying, okay, since 1927, small stocks did better. You would be extremely right and say, well, in 1927, even my grandpa wasn't born. Okay. I think my ex-wife's father was born in 1929. So even my now rest in peace, dad's father-in-law was not born by then. So you want to look at these things relatively recently. One of the reasons I put this in table, uh, if I go to the date column, these are all drop-down boxes now. Okay, you can do date filters. Okay, and we're gonna do between. Okay, so I'm gonna make it after or equal to, let's say, since Papa Bush was last president, which means January 1992. Now I'm going to go ahead and write it. Uh, 1 1992. Okay, what the hell is going on? Apparently, it didn't recognize that. Oh, I didn't say. You're gonna tell me that I am an idiot? Please do so. I said only after or equal to instead of saying 1/1/2025. Okay, now we're talking. Okay. What do you know? Look at that small cap stuff. They're still doing better relative to the large cap stocks, but that size premium, even in effective annual return terms, is only what? 1.5%.